Excited about today. This is our second annual Sula Too Authors Showcase. And we have an incredible lineup today. Oh my goodness, you just have no idea what's coming up. And it's going to be absolutely fascinating. So, again, I am Ersula Odom. I am the CEO of Sula Too, and we make old new in everything that we do, in that we capture and preserve legacy information in any form possible. And tonight, you're going to be talking to authors. And yes, there may be an opportunity for you to engage with them. And if not, later on, it'll be on YouTube and you'll be able to see and comment again later. But today it's on Facebook, it's on Zoom. And what I want you to really think of as you go through the presentations tonight is think about, who do you know that need to hear what is being said, read the books that have been written, and who can it help? Who will enjoy it, and who actually need it? And you'll hear different stories tonight from a lot of different vantage points. And you can feel free to ask questions in the chat room. Okay, so next up is Melody. You have to unmute.
You, yes.
Thank
Hello, Miss
you.
Oh,
Ersula.
she's
How are you?
beautiful.
How are
Yeah,
you doing?
I'm
Thank
doing
you.
just fine. So happy to see you, girl. You know, she's talking about you looking beautiful. When we get together, we be working. It's like,
Right,
oh,
right.
okay.
It's a totally different look when you are working hard. Yes, totally different look. You know.
All right. So let them know who you are and what you've done.
Okay, definitely. My name is Melodie Yarber-Rhodes. And formerly it was just Yarber. I got married last year. Thank you. It's been quite an interesting journey the past year. Um, but it has taught me a lot about just even from the wedding plans being canceled and terminated because of COVID. It just has taught me a lot about patience. I've learned more about myself. I've learned more about how to help others. And it actually gave me time to actually sit down and do something that I said that I was planning on doing for years, which is write this book.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's been a journey. A little bit about me, my background. I actually went to Florida State University and I got a bachelor's in psychology. And then I went to work at a substance abuse rehab center for about a year. That's all I could take at the time. You know, I was fresh out of college. I could not deal with all the pain and hurt and dysfunction that was, happening at that facility with the clients I was seeing. And I was so young. So I made the transition to the classroom with even more pain and hurt and dysfunction going on. So it's like I went from one thing to the next. I became an educator. Um, while I was teaching during the day, I attended school at night and earned my master's degree in counseling, became a school counselor. And then from there, I went into mental health counseling. So, and that's what I'm currently doing now. Oh, so yeah, I am married and I have a 16-year-old and an almost 3-year-old toddler running around here driving me up the wall. So uh,
No,
I'm blessed though.
you know what that's about, right? Since and I want you to hold your book up, but she's dealing with two generations of young men, so they want to make sure that you got it right for and one is her, well, the young man on the left is her son.
Hmm.
So, okay. All right. So that means that you get to find out how to deal with young men of teenage age now, and then a
Yeah.
generation later, you get to
Yes.
find out what they're dealing with.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a part two in 10 more years when I'm going through the teenage years with my 3-year old. So woo, I'm writing what I know. I'm writing what I have experienced, not only with, my own sons, but with my, adopted sons in the classroom and in the different schools that I've worked at. So definitely, the book is more geared towards helping them, though, helping them specifically and directly. Um, so would you like me just to dive into why? Okay.
Yes, yes.
So so basically I was working last year. We were working remotely, of course. Most people were. And I worked for a school system. We were having a team meeting about, what kind of trainings we needed for our team of mental health facilitators and mental health professionals. We all worked with kids in the school system. So I said, we definitely need to find a training for us and for teachers and for everyone who works with our children that is aimed directly at helping our Black youth. And so one of my coworkers, she was like, I don't think that's necessary because we don't want to put ideas in their minds. And we don't want to, make them feel like, they are singled out. And this was one of our people, my people, who said this. So I said, and this is where the boldness comes in. You don't want to step on your sister's or brother's toes, but at the same time, I think we're in a situation where you have to be bold with everybody. If you know that what they're saying isn't quite accurate or helpful. So I said, you know what? I have to respectfully disagree. We have to single them out because if we don't, we will. They have been singled out anyway. Historically, Black boys, brown boys, they are picked on. They are mistreated. They are stigmatized. So if historically and currently that is happening to our boys, I think it's important that we do something to reverse that and to give them things that will help them recover and grow and heal from the trauma and pain that they have been experiencing for years. Um, so I wrote this book as a resource directed specifically for them for that purpose, to help them to understand how to cope, how to communicate when they're feeling sad or mad, angry, instead of taking it out in a physical way. Even though physical ways of exercise and things are great, but I found that a lot of our men don't know, and our boys don't know how to communicate what's going on in their lives, and how to deal with the changes that were happening and are continuing to happen in our country, such as the whole COVID pandemic that has affected everybody. But when they say, what's that saying, when it it's a rainstorm for white folks, it's like a hurricane for Black folks. I don't know how exactly the saying goes, but if it affects one group of people, it affects us times 10. So, and then you think about just us as adults, how affected we were by everything from COVID to George Floyd to Breonna Taylor, excuse me. And my heart breaks for the children and the youth because, I've seen some adults just like quit life. Like, I don't want to do this right now because all of this stuff is going on. So imagine, the thoughts and feelings that they're experiencing.
Yeah. I heard an adult male once say, and this is going to sound a little crazy, but the person said, I have feelings. It's like, okay, so you walk around thinking about what you're going through, and then you hear somebody say to somebody else, "I have feelings." It,
Mm-hmm.
like they had to remind the person that they had feelings.
Yes.
And now, when I think of that with young men, the younger they are, they obviously cannot communicate that as well as someone that has been through the fire and say, I need to let this person know what they just said ain't right.
Right.
you know?
Right. Exactly. And just
So,
having those tools, a lot of our young boys don't feel like it's safe to say that. Say
and
that I
usually it's
have
probably
feelings.
not.
Yeah, they feel like, oh, if you, especially in like middle school, high school, more so now, they're getting to that point where you hear like the buzzwords like, oh, that's, I've been traumatized, or that's a trigger. They know those words, but in middle school age, you better not say that, or else you will get picked on um, by your peers, or your little cousins or something. You say I have feelings, they're gonna call you names. So it's like we have to get to the point where we can normalize that, even in that age group, to be able to express, hey, I have feelings, that isn't okay what you said.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
So I knew Jason would want to get in on this conversation. He said men don't communicate feelings or they over communicate in a negative manner.
Yes. And I like what Jason was saying earlier, about working with the population that he works with. That's a tough population, man. I kudos to you. Kudos to you, Jason, and the work that you do. I forgot what age group he said he works with, but I think it was about the same age group that I wrote this book for. Pretty
That's what I
sure.
thought.
Yeah, 12 through 16, that
But
age
but
group.
actually, in Jason's case, it's universal because adults can benefit from that knowledge too, because he's
Yes.
talking about working on self. But he indicates that 14 to 17 is the primary audience.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Because so many changes are happening um, in their lives at that point, from the hormones changing to now they're becoming like more dependent on their friend group rather than their parents. And they're developing their own sense of self at that time, and sense of value, and what they believe is important in life. So, imagine if you grow up, if you're about, you're a 14-year-old boy and you're growing up in an environment where no one's telling you it's okay to have feelings, or no one's telling you, or actually telling you it's not okay to have feelings.
Hmm.
Um, Imagine growing up with that, like and trying to navigate throughout this world and have relationships with people. That's really tough. And Jason's right. They don't communicate their feelings until you get them by themselves, and you say, okay, you're in a safe place. I'm a therapist, or I'm a friend, or I'm your family. I love you. This is a safe place. Whatever you want to talk about or share is going to be between me and you. And then, oh boy, the things that they tell you, um, you feel very honored, or at least I feel very honored when a young man or a young woman discloses something to me, or shares, how they're feeling with me, because they're telling me, I'm willing to trust you with this information. And so I feel really honored about that.
All right, there are two things that came to mind, both having to do with adult reaction. When my girls were turning teenagers, I asked Aunt Janie, well, what do I do? She said, keep them busy. Keep them busy.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then I read some unknown author that said that that was the age that kings and queens loved because they were untainted spiritually and energy wise. They just loved the world. So they were
Hmm.
companions to talk to and just bring joy into their lives.
Hmm.
And that 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 moment my whole attitude changed from absolute fear of having 13-year-old girls to enjoying their company. And they're both, oh, I forgot Danielle is on this.
You're talking shit.
Danielle, I'm not talking to you. Close your ears. But anyway, having absolute fear of these 13-year-old girls, 13 and 14-year-old girls, to enjoying them and they're being my best friends.
Mhm.
Now they're worlds apart, totally different, but I love them both, and they both bring to the table unique and wonderful personalities. But until I got to that mindset, I can just only imagine if I didn't change that thought, how I would have come across to them over time, just out of fear, anger, and trauma of dealing with them.
Yes.
And so my question then comes with Danielle just said, "Yep, I'm right here."
She's like,
But
don't say too much now. Don't say
I
too
know
much
I got to think about this
negative
thing.
about me.
So my question is, how much do you think about adult reaction to young people?
Wow, that's a great question. And as a counselor slash therapist, that's pretty much half of the battle, I would say, when we're dealing with um, youth in general, not just boys, but boys and girls who are, displaying behaviors or attitudes that we don't prefer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, teaching teaching the parents that some of the in a nice way, that some of the things that they do are really making problems worse is
Mm-hmm.
one of the hardest conversations to have. um and but I think it's crucial to have those conversations with the parents. So we definitely, in my practice, when we're working with children and preteens and teens, we like to have at least one session a month with the parents or the parent of that child, so that we can review, the things that we have discovered, or the progress that we have made, or the things that come up that may be of concern. So I like that quote that you shared. And I think perspective is what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and over the years, my perspective has definitely changed when it comes to dealing with problem behavior or behavior. I won't even say problem behavior, because it's just behavior. It's People tell you it's what you expect when a teenager is going through their teenage things, their life. It's We know it's going to happen, we know it's going to come. So I remember telling one of my coworkers, she was like, oh, I'm like so proud of you, because I don't, because I think I'd taken my baby, and at the time my 16-year-old was like 13. And we went on a trip to New Orleans, and she was like, oh, I don't understand how you can do that. And I was like, you don't understand how I could. These are my kids. These are my children. They're my responsibility. I love them. When they act up, when they don't act up, when they act right, this these are my blessings. So when when you shift to that perspective of your children being blessings, your children being people, autonomous people that are, not just reflections of you. They're
Mm-hmm.
their own person. Um, and they're going to challenge you. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
challenge society. They're going to challenge status quo. They're going to, be free thinkers sometimes, and that's okay. But
And Livonia is agreeing with you. She says
yeah,
that's what people need to understand.
yeah. And
Yeah.
also understand that whatever you plant in them, they will return to it. You know, you will raise a child, like the Bible says, you raise up a child in the way they should go, and they won't depart from it. They, you know, they'll return. What they might stray a little bit, you know, they might do some things here and there, but you know, they're listening, they're watching, and they're learning, and they're forming their values and opinions and ideas based on what you're teaching them. So if you as a parent, you know, are teaching them that, you know, you don't want to talk to them, or you don't want to be bothered, they're going to learn that. I'm a bother. I'm trouble. I'm annoying. I'm a distraction to people, and they internalize those things.
Wow.
You know, and it's really sad, because I can't tell you how many kids feel like, you know, it would be better off if they weren't there. You know, and
That's sad.
yeah, very sad.
Whew. So,
Yeah.
since I started down this path, I'm gonna just keep going.
Okay.
Um, when there is a time, and Danielle is well aware of this, because it's in my book, At Sula's Feet. I talked about a moment where we had that first conversation that's semi-adult. Well,
It was
she likes makeup then
okay.
and now.
Okay.
Okay. And then I thought it was way too much.
Okay.
So I was letting her know. And whatever was happening, I was just screaming all in her face. And I didn't scream. I mean, it was like I was just like at my wit's end, whatever it was happening at that day. And I just started yelling,
Mm-hmm.
which was out of character, but I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Danielle started laughing. I looked at this child and I thought, had she lost her mind? I mean, she had to have gone stark raving mad.
Yeah.
She's laughing, and I am this angry. She looked at me and she said, "Ma, with you screaming like that and your hair like that, you look like a lion." And it just broke my whole plan. I was all in her face and it just blew my cover. I mean, I couldn't do anything but laugh. But it also was the moment where we sat and we talked. What was frustrating her was that whatever the situation was, and I don't think it was just the makeup, it was something else. She felt that we just had it wrong, and that, you know, it deserved a conversation, whatever it was. And
Yes.
in that case, as I remember, she was right. It was like, but what we had an opportunity to talk about is what the triggers were, even though we didn't use that term.
Mm-hmm.
When you act this way, I respond this way. And when
Yes.
I respond this way, you act that way. And it
Yes.
becomes a vicious cycle.
Right.
And so we stopped and talked.
Oh, she appreciated
Oh,
that. Yeah, she appreciated that moment. Yeah, because it made her feel heard. It made her feel like you cared. It made her feel like, okay, I can actually have a conversation with my mom. Like, hey,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she she stopped.
Yes, yes,
So, and now for all of you in a part of this, it just seems like we're having a conversation, but this is what her book is about. It's
yes,
about tapping into those real feelings and helping them address those feelings, and then finding a way to cope with those feelings, whatever
ex-
they happen to be.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it is an interactive journal. Like Dr. Mavis, was it Mavis? Dr. Mavis had in her book. Throughout the book, it's interactive. There's pages for, yes, it gotta be for 12 through 16. We start off with the first page talking about me. Who am I? Like I want them to start off from the beginning, understanding you're the most important person in your life right now. You need to figure out who you are as a person. I have pages that they can fill out. I don't know if you can see it too well.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah,
Yes.
we see good. Awesome.
Yeah, there's several. It's the whole book is interactive, and I think that was important. For especially this age group, they don't like to just read a bunch of words and
Right.
they fall asleep. The attention span is very short.
Mhm.
If it's not what's that game? The game
A
where people fall.
video game.
Yeah, if it's not a video game, they don't care about it. So it's gotta be something that keeps their attention, and something that they can write things down and reflect, and journal. I have a part where they can journal. It's a journaling challenge. It's a 30-day journal challenge. They have all the dance challenges, the whatever is going on, whatever's hot. But I want our young men to start to be able to sit down and write their thoughts, get their thoughts out on paper, so that they can have some sort of release. Even if they don't want to talk to someone, they can at least write down their feelings and emotions and thoughts. So
Yeah.
that was important.
And then they can tear that book up, throw it away, and get another one.
And get another one. That's right. That's right. And start all over.
Start all over.
Start all over. That's
And
right.
nobody will ever know.
That's right. So Jason said, absolutely, that's with every generation, that's where the belief systems start to become foundational. And Lee's enjoying herself. All right. So, additional parting words?
Sure. I'd say with everything that I direct at young boys, black and brown boys, I wrote a page specifically for parents and caregivers. It's actually the first page that lets them know it's important that they have conversations. It doesn't have to be a whole 30 minutes, even though that would be great. The more information you can get out of them, the better. But it's important for parents and caregivers to have those conversations with their young men about how they're feeling, what their favorite exercises in the book may be, and to just have a conversation about that, to talk about that, and let them tell you why is this important to me? Why has this been beneficial to me? And so you can get a better understanding of your son, your nephew, your grandson, whoever it is that you are buying this book for. And also, lastly, I will say, one of the reasons why I wrote the book, among many, is because the suicide rate of our Black youth, our Black boys specifically, has been going up instead of down. And statistics, research shows that any youth, but specifically Black and brown youth, if they have at least one trusted adult that they can talk to or turn to, or they feel safe talking to about their feelings, that will decrease the likelihood that they will try to take their own lives. So I think that's very important for us to know. Like, if you see a kid, a youth 12 through 16 or even younger, who's struggling, and they they living in a situation where nobody really is checking in on them, please be that person who checks in on them, who forms a relationship with them, because if they know they have at least one person to turn to, it can make a world of difference.
What popped into my mind as a little girl, and I wonder how universal this is. My grandmother's best friend and cousin, well, she was an in-law cousin, was Cousin Pleasant. Her name was Pleasant Brown, and that was
Pleasant.
her name.
Mhm.
And she was my best friend. And I just look back on that she was really grandmother's surrogate.
Mm.
You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? Not
Mhm.
that I had a whole lot to tell her, but she was another adult that I felt safe with. And that if
Mhm.
I had something I wanted to say that maybe I thought grandmother would not appreciate or have time for, which was rare, but
Mhm.
you know, I just wonder how valuable that was and if that's something that we need to consider today. I know it's kind of strange because we fear adult companionship now because people do crazy stuff.
Mhm.
But if it's a good companionship, I can see where I feel that would be the saving grace for a young man or a young woman that need that extra person to talk to.
Yes, definitely, definitely. I would say, yeah, we definitely need to be careful and listen to our kids and watch for clues. Like even my 3-year-old, almost 3-year-old, if he does not want to give somebody a hug, I do not force him. If he doesn't want to sit on someone's lap, I do not force him. If he doesn't want to give somebody a kiss, be like, come here, baby, come give me a kiss. No, if he doesn't want to do it, I'm not going to force. I'm going to politely say, oh, he doesn't want to do it right now, maybe another time.
I
But we need to
so
learn,
agree.
we have to make sure that we are protecting our kids and their decisions and their instincts and their intuition, because
Hmm.
they know, hey, I don't want something about this person I don't want to deal with. Or it might be just a bad day.
Yeah.
It just might not be, they might be having a bad day too. But either way, like I practice that now, and I suggest that other parents and caregivers practice that as well. And also, we do live in a crazy world. You're right, and it's one of those things where we have to err on the side of what's best for our kids. So, and use resources that are safe. Um, if it's not someone in our family, there's organizations out there. There's so many organizations for our youth. There's a few for Black and brown boys that, the people in those organizations have to be fingerprinted, and
Mm.
have background checks and things like that. Um, So, yeah, definitely, it's a good thing with being cautious,
Yeah.
too, and your child or your grandchild or your nephew or whoever, they will kind of give you clues to who they're willing to be around and who might be safe and who might not be the safest person to pair them with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Just a quick comment on that, if you don't mind, of what you were saying. Unfortunately, sometimes that person you need to watch out for is a family member. So you do have to be very careful.
Yep. Yep. People who, yeah, statistically, abuse is by someone in your family. It is a family member or a close family friend.
That's a conversation for a whole
For a
show.
whole, yeah,
Good
that's a whole,
Lord.
and that's what I'm saying though. Watch, be careful who you leave your kids with. I know we have different obligations to handle throughout our days, but definitely our Black and brown boys need to be protected, and we need to reach into their lives because, and this is the last thing I'll say. Someone asked me, well, a couple of people asked me, why didn't you write, where's the book for girls? Um, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that might be coming. That might be next. Um, but I specifically wrote it for boys because there have been so many studies in the mental health field and in psychology that say that Black boys are what you call um, secret ideators. Let me get this right. Hidden ideators, not secret. Hidden ideators, okay? And like ideation, having ideas or thoughts of suicide or hurting
Oh.
themselves. Black boys are hidden ideators and are less likely than other youth to disclose thoughts of suicide.
Hmm.
And that is so true. It's like over the past 10 years that I've been in school systems and, working outpatient counseling and therapy, the white kids, their parents sign them up quick. They'll come see me. Hey, can you talk today? I'm having a bad day. Somebody triggered me this morning, or I thought about what happened 5 years ago and I need to talk. Black boys, they, and not all of them, but the majority of them, they'll sit in a corner and just put their head down before they talk to you. They'll
Well, is that possible? I mean, is it possible that because anything that they say will be criminalized?
Sometimes that is the case. They don't feel like, or they don't feel like anybody will believe them. They feel like no one will believe them. It might be criminalized. They might be misunderstood, or they're just not used to expressing their feelings. Like Jason was saying earlier, they don't talk. Somebody along the line told them, or they saw something, or they heard something that says boys are not supposed to cry. Stop acting like a what. You're gonna play sports and get that frustration out. Nothing wrong with sports. Don't get me wrong. Sports is a great way to teach a lot of lessons to our young men. But it's not the only way for them to express their anger and hurt and pain. So I think there's several reasons why they do that, but we've got to normalize being able to teach them that it's okay to communicate what's going on in their lives rather than pushing it down and acting like it didn't happen, because that's what they're doing, and to their detriment. So definitely something to keep in mind.
All right. Well, needless to say, I've enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Definitely. I've enjoyed this conversation. I've enjoyed everybody's conversations and books, and looks like I'm going to be buying a couple of things today.
Yay, like the
Yes.
sounds of that. All
Yes.
right. So on that note, I'm gonna do this thing that I don't do so well, and that's to share my screen and show your book and how people can buy and then call Rose up next. Thank you, Melody.
Thank you.
Okay, let me do this right.
Hello.
Okay, hold on a second, Rose.
Okay.
Okay, here she goes. This is the book that she was just discussing. Coping Like a King. And this is how you can buy her book and everyone else's. That's bit.ly/2QHWO8D. Or go to Sula2.com/publishing or Sula2.com and then click on buy books. And think about who needs to read this. Who could enjoy it?
I don't see the screen,
Oh, you don't?
Miss Ersula. No,
I
I don't
thought
see.
I shared. Okay, hold on. Share screen. Thank you. Okay,
There it is.
that's it.
That's it.
Okay. make sure we see her book.
Thank you.
Beautiful cover. I love it.